Some movie scenes feel so smooth and perfect that viewers never question them. They flow naturally, the actors hit their marks, and the moment feels exactly the way it was meant to feel. But every now and then, a scene that looks perfectly planned hides something unexpected. A small mistake, a broken moment, a detail that slipped past everyone during filming and editing. These hidden slips are called bloopers or goofs, and most of the time they are removed before a movie reaches theaters. Yet sometimes, for reasons no one fully understands, they remain. One of the most talked about examples of this comes from the 1974 film Young Frankenstein. For decades, fans have debated whether one particular moment in the movie was carefully edited or left untouched. Was it scripted that way? Was it a mistake? Or did the cast lose control and simply keep rolling? This question matters because Young Frankenstein is not just any comedy. It is one of the most carefully made parody films ever created. Mel Brooks and Gene Wilder built the movie with great attention to detail, honoring classic horror films while gently making fun of them. Because the movie is so carefully constructed, the idea that a real blooper could slip through feels surprising. And yet, once you start watching closely, you begin to notice small cracks in the perfection. A character almost laughs. A prop changes position. A reaction feels too real to be planned. These moments are easy to miss on a first viewing, especially because the comedy is strong and fast. But once someone points them out, they become impossible to ignore. This is why fans still rewatch Young Frankenstein today, slowing scenes down and looking carefully at every frame. They are not trying to find flaws to criticize the film. Instead, they are drawn to the human side of it. These tiny mistakes remind viewers that real people made this movie. People who laughed too hard, moved too fast, or decided not to stop filming when something went wrong. In a strange way, these unedited moments make the film feel more alive. They show that even a movie built with discipline and care can still carry traces of chaos. And when a film is this beloved, those traces become part of its legend. T.O. understand why these bloopers matter so much. It helps understand how Young Frankenstein was made. Released in 1974, the film was directed by Mel Brooks and co-written by Brooks and Gene Wilder. At a time when most Hollywood movies were colorful and modern, Brooks made a bold decision. He chose to shoot Young Frankenstein entirely in black and white. This was not done to save money or follow a trend. It was a creative choice meant to pull audiences back into the world of classic monster movies from the 1930s. Those original Frankenstein films, produced by Universal Pictures, were filmed in black and white and carried a very specific mood. They were dark, serious, and dramatic. Brooks wanted his comedy to live inside that same visual world. He wanted the jokes to feel as if they belonged in that era, not outside of it. This choice immediately set the movie apart. Even before a single joke was told, the look of the film signaled respect for the source material. Gene Wilder starred as Dr. Frederick Frankenstein, the grandson of the famous Victor Frankenstein. His character spends much of the film trying to distance himself from his family name. He wants to be taken seriously as a scientist and insists that his name is pronounced Frankenstein. This running joke works because Wilder plays the role with sincerity. He is not winking at the audience. He believes in his character's frustration. Around him is a cast filled with strong comedic performers. Peter Boyle plays a monster, giving him surprising warmth and confusion rather than pure fear. Marty Feldman's Igor brings strange physical comedy and unpredictable energy. Cloris Leachman, Terry Garr, Madeline Kahn, and Kenneth Mars each add their own rhythm and timing. The cast works because everyone treats the story seriously, even when the situations become absurd. That serious approach is one reason the movie holds up so well decades later. But it is also why any visible blooper stands out. When actors are fully committed to their roles, a real laugh or mistake feels different from scripted comedy. It breaks the illusion just enough to make viewers curious. And that curiosity is what keeps people watching closely, even 50 years later. Mel Brooks was famous for encouraging creativity on set, but he was also more disciplined than many people realize. While his films feel wild and loose, they are often carefully planned. Young Frankenstein is a perfect example of this balance. Brooks wanted the movie to feel authentic, so he went to great lengths to recreate the look and feel of the old Universal horror films. He even tracked down Kenneth Strickfaden, the man who designed the original laboratory equipment for the 1931 Frankenstein. Those same machines, stored away for decades, were brought back and used again. The lighting was designed to match the old style. The music followed the patterns of classic horror scores. Even the opening credits were styled to match films from the 1930s. At the same time, Brooks allowed his actors room to explore. Gene Wilder, who co-wrote the script, often pushed scenes further than originally written. Marty Feldman was known for adding unexpected physical movements or expressions. These choices added life to performances, but they also increased the chance of mistakes. Comedy sets are especially vulnerable to this problem. When something is funny, actors laugh. When actors laugh, takes are ruined. Sometimes a director stops filming. Other times, the moment feels so natural that it is allowed to continue. In Young Frankenstein, several moments appear to fall into this second category. A character barely holding back laughter. A reaction that feels too honest. A pause that seems longer than planned. These moments may not have been noticed at the time because everyone was focused on getting the scene finished. Editing was also done differently in the 1970s. Without digital tools, fixing small errors was harder and more expensive. If a scene worked emotionally and the audience laughed, small continuity errors were often ignored. Brooks trusted that the comedy would carry the film forward, and he was right. But this trust also meant that tiny bloopers survived the editing process. Today, with high-definition screens and pause buttons, those same bloopers are easier to spot. What once passed unnoticed now becomes a subject of debate and fascination. One of the most famous stories from the set of Young Frankenstein involves Gene Hackman's uncredited appearance as a blind man. Hackman was already a respected dramatic actor, known for serious roles. His decision to appear in a small comedy role surprised many people. During a scene, Hackman improvised a line about making espresso. The delivery was so unexpected that the cast and crew broke into laughter. The scene fades out quickly because no one could continue without laughing. That fade to black was not originally planned. It was a solution to a problem, yet it worked perfectly. The audience laughs because the moment feels real. Another example involves Gene Wilder himself. According to cast members, Wilder often struggled to keep a straight face during filming. Some scenes had to be shot many times because he kept laughing. While this slowed production, it also showed that the comedy was working. In at least a few scenes, Wilder appears to be barely holding it together, especially during interactions with Marty Feldman. These moments are subtle, but they add to the charm. They make viewers feel as if they are sharing a private joke with the cast. In most films, this kind of breaking character will be considered a failure. But in Young Frankenstein, it feels like a gift. The humor is already layered. Adding a touch of real laughter deepens the effect. It reminds the audience that comedy is a shared experience. The actors are enjoying the jokes just as much as the viewers are. This is likely one reason some bloopers were left untouched. They did not harm the story. Instead, they made it warmer. They showed that even in a carefully controlled production, joy can break through. And once joy enters a scene, it can be hard to remove without losing something special. Not all questionable moments in Young Frankenstein were accidents. Some were nearly removed because they felt too silly or risky. One of the best examples is the Puttin' on the Ritz scene. In this moment, Dr. Frankenstein presents a monster to an audience by performing a song and dance. Mel Brooks initially disliked the idea. He felt it broke the mood of the film and went too far into absurdity. Gene Wilder disagreed. He believed the scene was essential because it showed Frederick fully embracing his family legacy. After much debate, Brooks allowed the scene to stay, partly because test audiences loved it. Today, it is one of the most iconic moments in the movie. Another well-known joke involves Igor telling Frederick to walk this way, then demonstrating his hunch walk. Brooks thought the joke was too obvious and wanted to cut it. Again, audience reaction changed his mind. These examples show how close the film came to losing moments that now define it. They also highlight how decisions were often made based on feeling rather than strict rules. If something made people laugh, it stayed. This same logic may explain why some bloopers were never removed. If a scene worked, if the timing felt right, and if the audience responded, there was no reason to fix small imperfections. In fact, fixing them might have damaged the rhythm. Comedy relies heavily on timing. A single frame can change the effect of a joke. Editors in the 1970s were careful not to disturb that balance. As a result, some scenes remain exactly as they were filmed, mistakes and all. These unedited moments now serve as windows into the creative process. They show how fragile comedy can be, and how sometimes the best choice is to leave things alone. Beyond actors breaking character, Young Frankenstein contains many classic continuity errors. These are small visual mistakes where details change between shots. For example, a character may be holding an object in one shot, only for it to disappear in the next. A bed may be empty in one moment and covered in the next. Candles may be lit, then suddenly extinguished. These errors are common in older films and are often difficult to catch during editing. In one scene, Igor's famous hump changes sides. This was originally a joke created by Marty Feldman, who moved it as a prank. Mel Brooks liked the result and decided to keep it. What started as a mistake became a running gag. Other errors are less intentional. Props break and reappear whole. Characters stand up twice after sitting down. Darts change position on a target. These details were likely unnoticed at the time because the focus was on performance and pacing. The audience was laughing, and laughter covers many sins. Today, fans enjoy spotting these errors because they reveal the film's handmade quality. Unlike modern movies, where digital tools allow for endless corrections, Young Frankenstein feels physical and real. The mistakes are proof that people were rushing, laughing, and making decisions on the spot. They do not feel lazy. They feel human. And because the film's tone is playful, these errors do not break the experience. Instead, they add another layer of enjoyment for viewers who love looking closely. Some of the most interesting bloopers in Young Frankenstein are not visual, but logical. For example, the monster's fear of fire changes throughout the film. At times, he is terrified of it. At other times, he sits calmly beside open flames. This inconsistency might bother viewers in a serious drama, but in a comedy it becomes part of the fun. The film is not asking to be taken literally. It is asking to be enjoyed. There are also audio slips, such as music continuing while a character's hands remain still, or sound effects that do not match what is shown on screen. These small mismatches were easy to miss in theaters, but are more noticeable now. There are even language inconsistencies. The story is set in Transylvania, yet most characters speak clear English with only occasional accents. This choice was likely made for accessibility, but it creates a strange mix of realism and fantasy. Again, these details do not harm a film. They remind viewers that the movie exists in its own world, where rules bend in service of humor. In many ways, these imperfections are part of why Young Frankenstein still feels alive. It does not feel polished to the point of being cold. It feels warm, playful, and slightly messy. That messiness invites repeated viewing. Each time, viewers notice something new, and each new discovery strengthens their connection to the film. Many comedies from the 1970s struggle with modern audiences. Jokes that once felt harmless now feel uncomfortable. Social values have changed, and humor that relies on stereotypes can feel outdated. Young Frankenstein largely avoids this problem. Its humor is based more on character, timing, and situation than on cruelty. The jokes come from people taking ridiculous situations seriously. Gene Wilder's performance is key to this. His character believes in what he is doing, even when it becomes absurd. That sincerity grounds a film. Mel Brooks understood this balance. He allowed silliness but protected the tone. He stayed behind the camera, appearing only briefly and avoiding his usual broad style. This decision kept the world of the film intact. As a result, the movie feels respectful rather than mocking. Even when it points out the flaws of classic horror films, it does so with love. This approach helps explain why audiences continue to forgive its mistakes. The bloopers do not feel careless. They feel like part of a joyful process. They remind viewers that great art does not need to be perfect. It needs to be honest. Over the years, Young Frankenstein has earned its place in film history. It has been preserved by the Library of Congress and praised by critics and audiences alike. But its legacy is not built only on awards or box office success. It lives on because people enjoy returning to it. They quote lines. They share clips. They debate small details. The idea that a scene might be unedited adds to this enjoyment. It turns watching into a game. Viewers become detectives, looking for clues and patterns. This kind of engagement is rare. Many films are watched once and forgotten. Young Frankenstein invites participation. It rewards attention. And in an age where content is often rushed and disposable, that quality feels special. The bloopers are not flaws to be hidden. They are marks of authenticity. They show that something real happened in front of the camera. Something unplanned. Something human that in the end. The debate over whether a particular Young Frankenstein scene was edited or left untouched misses a larger point. What matters is not the technical answer, but the feeling the scene creates. Movies are not machines. They are expressions of people working together under pressure, guided by instinct as much as planning. When everything goes exactly as planned, the result can feel lifeless. When something goes wrong and is allowed to remain, the result can feel magical. Young Frankenstein is full of these small moments. They are easy to miss, but once seen, they deepen appreciation. They remind us that comedy is fragile, that laughter cannot be forced, and that sometimes the best decision is to keep rolling. In a film built with care, even mistakes can become part of the design. And once you see them, you can never unsee them. That is not a problem. It is a gift. Among all the moments in Young Frankenstein, there's one scene that continues to spark debate more than any other. Viewers who watch the film closely often point to a brief exchange where the actors' reactions feel just a little too real, as if something unexpected happened and the camera simply kept rolling. At first glance, the scene plays like normal comedy. The timing feels sharp, the lines land, and the audience laughs without questioning it. But when you watch it again, especially with modern high-definition screens, something feels slightly off. A pause lingers longer than usual. A facial expression looks like it belongs to the actor, not the character. A body movement seems unplanned, as if someone almost broke character and barely recovered in time. This is where the argument begins. Some fans believe the moment was carefully scripted to look natural, part of Gene Wilder's controlled performance style. Others argue that it was a genuine blooper, a moment where the cast lost control for a split second and Mel Brooks chose not to cut. What fuels this debate is how well the scene still works. If it truly was a mistake, it never hurts the story. In fact, it strengthens it. The reaction feels honest, and honesty is rare in comedy. Comedy is usually built on precision. Jokes are timed, reactions are rehearsed, and mistakes are corrected. But this scene feels different. It feels spontaneous. That spontaneity fits perfectly with the tone of Young Frankenstein, a film that balances discipline with madness. Mel Brooks himself often spoke about trusting his instincts. If something made him laugh, he was willing to bend the rules. Editing in the 1970s was also more forgiving. There was no online audience pausing frames or analyzing clips. If a moment played well in a theater, that was enough. The audience laughed. The story moved forward, and the film succeeded. Only years later did viewers begin slowing the film down, sharing screenshots and debating intent. In a way, this single scene represents the entire spirit of the movie. It sits right on the line between control and chaos. It reminds us that movies are living things, shaped by people in the moment, not just words on a page. Whether the scene was edited or not almost becomes irrelevant. What matters is that it feels real. And that feeling is why people keep looking again, convinced that they have caught a glimpse of something they were never meant to see. Tio fully understand why a possible blooper in Young Frankenstein could remain untouched. It is important to look at how films were edited in the 1970s. Editing at that time was a physical process, not a digital one. Editors worked with actual film reels, cutting and taping pieces together by hand. Every change took time, effort, and money. Because of this, filmmakers had to be selective about what they fixed. If it worked emotionally and the audience reacted well, small mistakes were often considered acceptable. There was no expectation of perfection in the way modern audiences now expect it. Today, films are examined frame by frame on streaming platforms, but back then, Movies were meant to be seen once, in a dark theater with laughter filling the room. Tiny facial slips, background errors, or brief pauses were almost impossible to notice under those conditions. Mel Brooks understood this reality well. He knew that comedy lived or died by rhythm. If a scene made people laugh, disturbing that rhythm to fix a minor flaw could do more harm than good. This philosophy explains why Young Frankenstein feels so natural. The film was not polished until every human trace was removed. Instead, it was shaped until it felt right. Brooks and his editor focused on momentum rather than microscopic accuracy. In several scenes, reactions are allowed to breathe a little longer than usual. Those extra seconds give the audience time to laugh. But they also create space for genuine expressions to slip through. A raised eyebrow, a tightened smile, or a glance that feels unscripted can all be signs of a real moment. Modern editors might trim those moments away, but Brooks leaned into them. He trusted the audience's instincts. He believed viewers would respond to honesty more than perfection. This trust paid off. The film flows smoothly despite its length, and the jokes rarely feel rushed or forced. The editing supports the performances rather than controlling them. That support is one reason actors felt safe pushing boundaries. They knew that if something unexpected happened, and it worked, it might survive. This approach also reflects a broader attitude in filmmaking at the time. Directors like Brooks, Wilder, and their peers came from backgrounds in live performance, where mistakes were part of the experience. In theater, if something goes wrong, you keep going. That same mindset carried into Young Frankenstein. The result is a film that feels alive, not manufactured. The possible unedited scene that fans still debate is a perfect example of this philosophy in action. It is not a flaw caused by carelessness. It is a choice shaped by trust, instinct, and an understanding of what comedy truly needs. And that understanding is one reason the film still connects with audiences who were not even born when it was first released. Modern audiences watch films very differently than audiences did in the 1970s. Today, viewers have pause buttons, rewind options, slow motion, and online communities dedicated to analyzing every detail of the movie. Because of this, hidden mistakes that once went unnoticed are now easy to find. This change in viewing habits has played a major role in keeping the blooper debate around Young Frankenstein alive. When fans watch the film today, they are not just watching for entertainment. They are watching with curiosity. They are looking for small details that reveal how the movie was made. This kind of viewing turns a passive experience into an active one. Instead of simply laughing at the jokes, viewers ask questions. Was that reaction real? Did the actor mean to do that? Why did the camera linger for so long? These questions lead to discussion, and discussion keeps a film relevant. In many ways, the hidden mistakes in Young Frank and Stain have become part of its modern appeal. They give fans something new to discover, even after multiple viewings. This is especially important in an age where content is often consumed quickly and forgotten just as fast.